Ethan Carter thought he had it all. A steady job, a warm home in the suburbs of Portland, and a wife he adored more than life itself. Olivia Carter was radiant, with her golden hair that caught sunlight like spun honey, and a laugh that could pull him out of any dark day. To their friends, they were the couple everyone envied, inseparable, understanding, and beautifully in sync. But behind closed doors, tiny cracks had begun to spread through the perfect glass of their marriage. It started subtly. Olivia's phone was always on silent now. The late-night texts she brushed off as just work. The long showers that turned into hours alone with her thoughts. Or so she said. Ethan noticed, but he didn't want to believe it. He blamed himself. Maybe he'd been too busy with work, too tired to notice her loneliness. Ethan worked as a construction project manager, often coming home late, exhausted and covered in dust. Olivia, a freelance interior designer, spent her days at home, redesigning spaces for wealthy clients who adored her charm and creativity. But lately, she'd seemed distant, her smile mechanical, her touches fleeting. One evening, while Ethan was washing the dishes, he caught a glimpse of Olivia on the porch, phone in hand, whispering softly. She laughed. That light, melodic laugh he hadn't heard directed at him in months. His chest tightened. Who was she talking to? "Who's that?" he asked casually when she came back in. "Oh, just a client. They wanted to confirm a color palette." Ethan nodded, pretending to believe her. But something inside him twisted. It wasn't jealousy. It was intuition. Days turned into weeks. Olivia started dressing differently. Not drastically, but enough for Ethan to notice. More perfume, a touch of lipstick, even when she was just working from home. She began going out for client meetings more often, her explanations vague and rehearsed. One night, as Ethan lay awake staring at the ceiling, he heard the buzz of her phone. Curiosity clawed at him. He turned, saw the glow of her screen, and froze. A message popped up. "Can't stop thinking about last night." His pulse hammered. He stared at the name. Mason. He'd never heard of a Mason. He wanted to wake her, to demand an explanation. But instead, he just lay there, staring at her sleeping face. She looked peaceful, innocent even. How could someone he loved so completely lie to him so easily? The next morning, Ethan acted normal. He kissed her forehead before work and whispered, "Love you." She smiled faintly. "Love you too," and turned away. But inside, his world had already begun to collapse. That day at work, Ethan could barely focus. His hands trembled as he held his coffee, his mind replaying the message over and over. Mason. Who the hell was Mason? He decided to find out. That night, when Olivia went to shower, Ethan unlocked her phone, something he had never done before. His heart pounded so hard he thought it might give him away. He scrolled through her messages, fingers shaking, until he found the thread. There it was, the truth in black and white. "Mason, you looked amazing last night. I still smell your perfume on me." Olivia, "Stop, you'll get me in trouble." Mason, "Worth it, every second." Olivia, "You're bad for me." "But I can't stay away." Ethan dropped the phone, his breath ragged. He felt like the floor had been pulled out from under him. It wasn't a one-time thing. It was an affair. And Olivia, his Olivia, had lied right to his face. When she came out of the shower, wrapped in a towel, humming softly, Ethan stared at her with new eyes. She looked the same, but she wasn't. The woman he loved had vanished, replaced by a stranger wearing her skin. He didn't confront her. Not yet. He couldn't. Not until he understood why. But as he lay beside her that night, staring into the darkness, Ethan knew one thing for certain. Their marriage would never be the same again. The next morning, Ethan woke up before Olivia. He lay there quietly, staring at the ceiling as sunlight filtered through the blinds, cutting lines of gold across their bedroom. Everything looked the same. The same soft beige walls, the same framed wedding photos smiling back from the dresser, but nothing felt the same. The air between them had changed. Olivia stirred beside him, stretching lazily before rolling over to face him. "You're up early," she murmured, her voice thick with sleep. "Yeah," he said softly. "Couldn't sleep." She smiled faintly. "Too much coffee last night?" "Something like that," he replied. She had no idea, no clue that he'd seen everything, that he'd read the words she'd written to another man, words she used to write to him. He watched her get up, tie her robe, and pad softly into the kitchen. She hummed under her breath as she made coffee, the same tune she always hummed when she was happy. It broke his heart that she could be so carefree while he was drowning in pain. Ethan stared at the ceiling again, trying to piece together the timeline. When had it started? How long had she been seeing this Mason? And who was he? He needed to know. That day, after Olivia left for what she called a client meeting, Ethan didn't go to work. He couldn't. Instead, he parked his car 2 blocks from the cafe she said she'd be at and waited. His stomach churned with guilt. He hated spying, but he needed answers. After 20 minutes, his heart stopped. There she was, Olivia, wearing a navy blue dress he'd never seen before, her hair flowing down her shoulders, her lips painted deep red. She wasn't alone. A tall man with dark hair and a confident smile walked up to her, pulling her into a quick, familiar embrace. Ethan's hands tightened around the steering wheel until his knuckles turned white. Mason. He looked exactly like the kind of guy you didn't want your wife alone with. Charming, athletic, and dangerously smooth Ethan. Couldn't unsee the truth. Every smile looked fake. Every word sounded rehearsed. Then one Friday night, fate twisted the knife. Ethan came home earlier than usual. The lights were low, the house quiet. He called out, "Liv?" No answer. He walked upstairs. Her phone was buzzing on the nightstand again. One message. Mason. "You free tonight? I can't stop thinking about you." He read it twice, the words sinking like acid. That was it. He couldn't take it anymore. He waited for her to come home. When she finally walked in around 9 p.m., wearing the same dress from before, Ethan was sitting on the couch, phone in hand. "Hey, you're home early," she said nervously. "Yeah," he said flatly. "Where were you?" "Client dinner," she said, eyes darting away. He nodded slowly. Mason must be one hell of a client. Her body froze. The color drained from her face. What did you say?" "I said," Ethan stood, his voice calm but sharp, "Mason must be paying you really well for all that extra time you spend with him." Olivia's lips trembled. "Ethan, it's not what you think." "Don't," he cut her off. "Don't you dare lie to me again." She opened her mouth, then closed it. Her eyes filled with tears. "I didn't mean for it to happen." He laughed bitterly. "You didn't mean to sleep with another man?" Her tears fell freely now. "Ethan, please." "How long?" he demanded. She hesitated. "How long?" 3 months, she whispered. He felt the words like a punch to the chest. 3 months, 90 days of deception. "Why?" he asked finally, his voice breaking. "Was I not enough?" She shook her head. "You were everything, Ethan, but I felt invisible. You were always working, always tired. Mason made me feel seen again." Ethan turned away, his jaw tight. "So you fixed your loneliness by destroying our marriage?" She sobbed. "I never wanted to hurt you." "But you did," he said coldly. "You didn't just hurt me, Liv. You broke me." Silence filled the room like smoke. She reached out to touch him, but he stepped back. "Don't." For the first time, she realized what she'd done, not just to him, but to herself. That night, Ethan slept on the couch. He didn't cry. He didn't yell. He just stared into the dark, wondering how love so pure could turn into this kind of pain. And as Olivia lay alone in their bed, staring at the empty space beside her, she knew she'd crossed a line she could never uncross. Their marriage wasn't broken anymore. It was shattered. For 3 days after the confrontation, Ethan and Olivia barely spoke. They moved like ghosts under the same roof, two strangers sharing memories that no longer fit. She tried, in small ways, to reach out, making his favorite breakfast, leaving coffee by his desk, soft apologies whispered into the silence. But Ethan never responded. He couldn't. Every time he looked at her, he saw the hotel door closing. He heard Mason's laugh. He saw the lies she built around him like walls he never noticed. On the third night, Ethan stood outside on the porch, a half-empty bottle of bourbon in his hand. The sky was gray, the air heavy with summer rain. He stared out into the yard, feeling the storm build inside him too. Behind him, the door creaked open. "Ethan?" He didn't turn. "Can we talk?" Her voice was trembling. He took a long drink before answering. "Talk about what? How you lied? How you broke everything we built?" "Please," she whispered. "I just want to explain." "Explain?" He turned then, eyes sharp. "You already did. Mason made you feel seen." Tears filled her eyes again. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but—" "You're right," he said, his tone calm but cutting. "You don't." Her breath caught. "I'm so sorry." "Sorry doesn't undo it, Olivia. Sorry doesn't erase what I saw." He stepped closer, his voice trembling with anger. "Do you even know what it feels like to love someone so deeply and realize you were just an option to them?" She shook her head, sobbing. "No, I do love you, Ethan. I never stopped." He stared at her for a long, painful moment. Then he turned back to the rain. "You should have thought about that before you let him touch you." She covered her face, breaking down completely. Ethan didn't move. He couldn't. Watching her cry didn't bring him peace, only exhaustion. After a while, she went inside, leaving him alone with the sound of rain and regret. The next morning, Ethan woke up late. Olivia had already left for work, or at least that's what she said. He didn't even know if she had a job anymore. Everything she told him now sounded like fiction. He checked her phone bill again. Mason's number had gone silent since their fight. Maybe she'd stopped seeing him. Maybe she was actually trying. But Ethan's trust was gone. Completely. He scrolled through messages he'd drafted but never sent. "I need time. I can't do this. I want a divorce." Every one of them felt both right and wrong at the same time. That night, his best friend Ryan stopped by with beer. Ryan had been through a divorce himself. He knew the look Ethan wore now. "Man, you look like hell," Ryan said, handing him a bottle. Ethan gave a humorless laugh. "Feels accurate." So, she admitted it. "Yep, 3 months. It took a while, but I'm getting there. He nodded. That's good, really. They talked for a few minutes, nothing deep, just catching up. There was no tension, no hidden longing, just two people who had survived each other. Before she left, Olivia said quietly, "You were right, you know." "About what?" "That we were over. I kept trying to find ways to fix it, but sometimes you can't rebuild something that was never meant to last. I had to let it die, to finally grow." Ethan gave her a gentle smile. "Then I'm glad you did." They stood there for a moment, a final silence, not painful, not bitter, just complete. She smiled again, a real one this time. "Take care, Ethan." "You too, Liv." And just like that, the last thread between them quietly unraveled. Healing. That night, Ethan sat on his porch, watching the stars blink against the dark sky. Harper joined him, carrying 2 cups of coffee. She handed him one and leaned against the railing. "You okay?" she asked. "Yeah," he said honestly. "I ran into my ex today." "Oh?" "Yeah. It was, weirdly peaceful." Harper smiled. "That's what happens when you've healed. You stop bleeding over the memories." He looked at her, studying the soft curve of her smile, the calm in her eyes. "Maybe," he said, "but I think peace looks a lot like you." She laughed, bumping his shoulder. "Careful, you're getting poetic." "Must be your influence," he teased. They stood there in comfortable silence as the night wrapped around them. Ethan realized that love, the kind that doesn't hurt, doesn't break, doesn't demand, was possible again. Different, softer, but real. 1 year later. A year later, Ethan's business was thriving. He and Harper had built a life filled with simple joys, laughter over takeout, shared projects, lazy Sunday mornings. Olivia, now living in another city, held her first solo art exhibition. Her work focused on healing, on rebuilding from mistakes. One painting, titled "Forgiven," saw a man standing in sunlight with his back to the shadows. Underneath, a small card read, "Inspired by someone I once broke, who taught me what it means to mend." She smiled as she looked at it, not with regret, but gratitude. The end. Or maybe, the beginning. Ethan sat by the lake again one evening, the same lake where he'd once gone to escape. This time, Harper sat beside him, sketching in her notebook. "Funny," he said quietly. "I used to come here to forget." Harper looked up. "And now?" "Now, I come here to remember how far I've come." She reached for his hand, and he let her. The sun dipped behind the trees, painting the water in gold. And for the first time, Ethan didn't feel the ache of what was gone, only the peace of what had begun. Because healing isn't about getting back what broke, it's about building something stronger in its place. And Ethan finally did.